Good morning. Today is Tuesday, and I'm recording the midweek show for you today because tomorrow Norma and I are going into town to visit my mother and my Aunt Carmen, who I missed on Sunday because she didn't know I was coming and she had gone out, I believe, with one of her daughters. Today I'm back to my playground, looking ahead at the trail along the ridge, the senda, which I believe just means a mountain trail. The sound of distant barking from one of the urbanizaciones. So far, the weather has only got better. Today there's a nice blue sky. I brought my nice camera with me, and I plan to take some good scenic shots, of which I will pick one good one for the friends of the Seeker podcast page. Yesterday, Norma and I walked into town. It's about 6.5 kilometers each way. I'm running all the sections that I can run safely that aren't too steep, which should get me back to El Edificio Orion in approximately 2 hours, which will give me 4 for the week. My two brothers arrive next Tuesday. It's a lot less windy today. I'm pretty sure that my windsock, my wind abatement device addition will do its job. This is where I start the hike up. One of the reasons that Norma and I set out today was that Jose Maria and his son had come over to fix the shower doors. My older brother insisted that the renters have new doors on the shower, regardless of cost. But still, Runkeeper lady, she might say something today, but I doubt it. I could have my phone repaired here, or I could carry on with a sporadic service. The main thing I need it for is the tracking app, which basically I don't really need, and to use the WhatsApp app so I can chat with my friends when I'm online and when they're online, rather than reverting to the old school of roaming charges and cellular data. I guess I could have brought the router with me, or the router, as Louis calls it. But I didn't give the internet a bit of a rest today. Bank some data for later. That kind of has a ring to it. It seems hard to believe that the rocks that I'm climbing over now used to be at the bottom of a muddy ocean in the Jurassic period. Occasionally you see little worm casts in the rock and little fossilized critters. We're now up to about 100 meters above. That is quite accurate, actually. It's quite amazing when you think about it. The GPS technology has advanced to such a state. And we're using basic civilian GPS. The military have even higher grade GPS. At one time it wasn't accurate, anything shorter than 3 meters, like 10 feet was as close as you got. But now they can send a drone missile through an apartment window without breaking the frame or missing the target. They can actually target somebody's phone in their pocket. I mean, that's fair enough for tactical attacks, but there's always going to be collateral damage whenever there is an explosion. Let's face it, the hit might be bang on target, but heaven help anybody near that person when they explode. Whoop, just saw a snake. A large snake about the length of my belt. The snake was about 30 inches long. My belt is a little longer, but I have it on one of the shorter settings. I'm on the shortest hole at the moment, which is a ballpark gauge of whether I'm losing or gaining weight. I have no idea how long this recording will be, but it'll err on the side of brevity. I know I started it at 1 kilometer. By the time I get to the meteorological goal, I would have covered about 5. But as the wind increases, I might just pause this until I get into the next eddy. I'm in one of the dips between two, hummocks on this ridge trail. Last night I listened to quite an interesting podcast about sleep deprivation, how the military, the US military, have made sleep as important as exercise and nutrition to keep their military as healthy as possible. As the expert was saying, most people don't really enjoy dieting. Most people, other than me and you, don't really enjoy exercising. But most people do enjoy sleeping. And that's one of the triad of qualities that one needs to maintain optimum health. Why should it be neglected? Sure, you can survive on 4 hours, but if you do that for too long, you will suffer the health consequences. Your mind will become fogged, and you will be verging on a pre-diabetic state. So far I've seen, other than when I left Norma, I've seen 2 other human beings on this hike, this power hike, this spike, this speed hike, various other euphemisms for what I'm doing now. Spiking with the jackal could be the name of this episode. Speed hiking. I've also heard it referred to as light packing if it's prolonged. But other than all my junk in my pockets, I'm not packing anything. No food, no water, no first aid kit. I told Jose Maria, the man who's fixing the shower, and his son, that Norma and I were planning to hike the Senda today. And if I hadn't returned in 3 hours to come looking for me, going through a patch of dwarf irises, which this year have really started to bloom. I believe it's because we had a fair bit of rain early on in the month. We're up to the 14th. Today is Valentine's Day, and I have a bar of dark chocolate and a bottle of sparkling Spanish wine to celebrate with my good wife, Madame Jackal. As I pause once again to make up a bit more headway and to get out of this windier section, I'll catch up with you later. There's just so much beauty in this world. I took a fabulous, well, I think it was a fabulous picture of the sun yesterday around 6 p.m. going down behind the ridge at the far side of the floodplain of which I am living the life here in Valencia. The area to my right are paddy fields where they grow a very large percentage of all the rice that's consumed in Spain. That is why paella is such a traditional Valencian dish, cooked in a large flat pan and eaten from that dish From here I can see the Museo del Arroz, the Rice Museum. I'll take a picture of it for those of you listening along. You will hear the camera click. The Rice Museum is on a little hill surrounded by the paddy fields. Got it. So I have to remember to pick up the voice recorder. Oh, the other thing I have to remember is to make sure that the shutter opens fully. I had a few failed attempts the other day of taking pictures. It's a shame, a couple of them would have been very good, but the shutter had not fully opened. I could review the pictures now, but I could also wait. I can't do much about it. I'm sure by the laws of average, if I take 8 pictures, at least 2 of them are going to be good. Hopefully, they will all be good. I got a reminder on my phone, one of those calendar reminders that you get when this weird message sound comes chirping at you and you wonder what the heck that was. It said Ron's birthday, and I was going through my list of Rons, and it had also his address, and then I realized it was an old client of mine who told me his birth date, so it was close to that date when I was visiting him about 8 years ago. He was in his 80s or 90s, not particularly healthy chap. He had been a painter, not an artist kind of painter, but an interior decorator kind of painter. And those poor guys made most of their money before people were really aware of toxic fumes. He was a very nice guy. Ron was his name. I'm assuming he has passed on. Him and his paintbrushes and his ladders to the project in the sky. But I was telling Norma about that fact, about the message from the calendar, and she reminded me of the fact that it's things like that that add color and quality to our memories. I have my garden full of plants that are still growing from people that donated them to me, who now have passed away. I have a nut tree that was given to me by a woman called Nora. She was Danish, married to a man called Carlo, who was a mason, a stone mason. His speciality when they emigrated to Canada was stone fireplaces. He used to build the most beautiful stone fireplaces. And I had a pair of oven mitts with some kind of Christmas design that were given to me by the wife of another guy, Mr. Wisherman. He was in his 80s or 90s. he would be over 100 by now. Things like that you remember. And even though I've deleted Ron's calendar reminder, next time I'm in Spain, or next time I'm around Valentine's Day, I will remember Ron fondly. He used to brew his own wine, and I remember seeing all his equipment in his cupboard. And, I made a comment, what are you planning to do with all of that? And he said, I'll sell it to you. I said, I don't really need it. Well, as it transpired, I went to visit him quite often for the next 7 or 8 months. And one day I said to him, I wouldn't mind taking that last big glass demijohn, because at the time I was fermenting in plastic, and I figured that if I upgraded to glass, it might improve the quality of the beer somewhat. And he wanted, I think, $15 for it, and I said no. And he said, well, look, take it, it's yours, you can have it. So I still have that last glass demijohn that I still brew my beer in. Well, actually, I don't brew my beer in it, I brew my beer in a large plastic bucket. And then when the fermentation slows down, I transfer it to Ron's demijohn, and then I put an airlock on it. I guess I could put it right into that demijohn to start with, but at the beginning of the fermentation, it is very vigorous fermentation at the beginning. It's better to do that in a large, open-topped bucket with a lid kind of thing. And once it starts to calm down, then you want to seal it off a little bit and put it under an airlock. And that is how a practiced brewer will gauge the progress of his fermentation by the speed of the bubbling of the airlock. But Suzanne knows all about that. When she was married to the giant, I believe he was a brewer. These things we remember. The community of listeners is strong. As I hike up some more treacherous terrain, on the next hilltop I will be able to see the meteorological ball. I will pause it now again. Yep, the ball is just popping its curvature above the rocks, which means that I'm at 4 kilometers, because the ball is about 5 from home. If I wanted to do a quick 10k, I would go to the ball and head back, but what I'm planning to do is about 13, as I say, 8 of which will be slow progress, and what is it now, 5 will be along the promenade. I'm going to take a picture of these dwarf irises. The shutters of the lens are open. I'll put my foot in the photograph for this one. For a sizing comparison. Okay, back at it. I feel quite Olympic at the moment. Had some good night's sleep, some quality sessions with Mrs. Jekyll. I mean, quality of life sessions. Let's not get too graphic here, but you know what I mean. Those amorous moments in a relationship that one treasures. I have to be careful here because this is that lunar type landscape where the trail is not that evident, and my main job is to remain injury-free as I bushwhack a little bit here to get back on what might be the official trail. Yeah, it's hard to say where it goes, but I know where I'm heading. It's just that none of it is that hospitable, so I'm trying to pick the least treacherous route through this debris field of boulders, sharp granite boulders. I see the trail ahead, which is encouraging as I climb through the palmetto palms. There are very few trees here. There are little bushes and little dry weather, dry climate palms. Very soon I will be back on, I can see where I went wrong. I'll be back on the official trail. But this is why I'm not too concerned about my overall pace, because, you know, it'd be so easy to get injured trying to make up some time here. All right, back at it. Surrounded by dwarf irises and forsythia bushes. The rocks have been conveniently painted. Every now and then there's a yellow and white stripe. And the other alternative was yellow and white crust. So the alternative route will join back onto the straight yellow and white. When I do Pablo's loop that goes around this mountain, I'm following the yellow, white, and blue course. I think they've been marked for tourists as hiking and cycling routes. This one obviously is not a cycling route, but a hiking route. I'm pretty sure I will see some out-of-work, young, healthy Spaniards today, even though it's a Tuesday. They are not neglecting 1/3 of their triad of health, sleep, exercise, and nutrition. When I press the button on my recorder, I should hear 2 beeps, I believe, is pause, and 1 beep means that you've reverted back to recording. So I'm going to press it. You won't hear the beeps because it'll have deactivated the circuitry. I'm approaching the meteorological ball, and as I anticipated, I'm going to come across a couple of young people who are enjoying the fresh air and vistas from up here. As I scamper from rock to rock. They're full of the joys of life together. There might be a couple, I don't know, a couple of girls, young girls. Hola. No, no fumo.
Ah, vale, gracias.
Adiós.
Adiós. Vamos.
Es bastante peligroso por aquí.
No pasa nada. No somos aquí, somos de Murcia.
Y yo soy de Canadá.
Canadá.
Sí.
Oh, Canadá.
Oh, Canadá.
Nena, yo no me puedo volver. Nena, no vas a volver, yo.
Adiós. A couple of friendly teenage girls. They're from Murcia, which is another province of Spain. They speak Castellano. When I said that it's pretty peligroso, which is dangerous, and they said, no pasa nada, which means, yeah, no big deal. I was going to say to them, yeah, for you youngsters who heal up quickly. Anyway, these are the joys of life that we share with each other. At least they see me and they know that there is a friendly old chap from Canada here, leaving them behind as they hike in their very unsuitable footwear. That's another thing that young people can get away with, wearing the wrong kind of equipment. I can see the trail getting better the closer I get to the Castillo, the ruined castle. I will pause it once again around here. I just spent 3 minutes talking to nothing. The voice recorder was turned off. I forgot to reactivate the circuitry. The shower repair is going to cost about 280 euros. That's about $300, maybe 350 Canadian. It's quite a lot of money for something that might well break once again. But it lasted about 4 years, and then it started breaking much more regularly. And each time it was costing Louis about $70, $60 or $70 to repair. But it's just badly made, that's all. And most people who rent apartments aren't likely to be as cautious as the owners. So a few heavy-handed Dutchmen could easily knock the shower off its rails. It has this sort of curved, very stylized curved doors, a bit like a telephone booth with curved doors and curved rails, but with tiny little wheels at the bottom. And it's always the right-hand door that needs replacement. I guess most people are right-handed, so that's the door that gets most use. The initial contact is with the right hand. And then you step into the shower and close the left door behind you. And then, by which time the right-hand door has already come off its track at the bottom. Okay, so my next port of call will be the castle ruins as a hiker with poles. But as Mrs. Jekyll commented, most people don't use the poles particularly efficiently. It's like most people don't know which hand they should be holding their cane in when they have a leg injury. Initially, I believe the idea is that you use the cane on the injured side, or when you're having trouble just barely standing. But once you get to the stage in rehabilitation when you can walk, then you should be switching the cane onto the good side, so that when you're doing one step followed by another, you're sharing your weight with the bad leg and the cane while you lift the good leg and step forward. That way you're not developing an uneven gait. So when you are fully rehabilitated, you don't have a lopsided clip-clop cadence, which I guess I am the worst person to talk about the lopsided clip-clop cadence. I am the king of lopsided cadence. Norma has started listening to my podcasts. She tells me that she can always tell that it's me, even without me speaking, by that slightly uneven gait that she can hear and that she is so familiar with. Coming up to another pause. I'm trying to give you all the highlights of this tour rather than doing 26 or 30 minutes straight recording on one section, I'm spreading the joy around a little bit. I will get back to you as I come down through the stations of the cross. There is a paved footpath that goes all the way down the steep side that switches back and forth across the gradient. I've gone through the castle walls, through the hole in the wall, and now coming down towards the Sanctuario. Very soon I'm anticipating hearing the noon o'clock bells ringing out, or is it pealing? I think pealing is another term for the bells. Ringing is more like any kind of bell, like a doorbell will ring, the phone will ring, but you wouldn't say that the doorbell was pealing unless it was one of those doorbells that ding dong, those kind of doorbells, the ones with the chimes. Real time is 10:58. Pretty close to real time. My clock is probably more accurate than the clock in the Sanctuario. They're more concerned with eternal time rather than actual daylight saving legal time, which we all seem so dependent on, knowing exactly what it is. I mean, since the era of digital clocks, when you ask somebody the time, they don't say it's noon, they say it's 12:01 or 12:03. I think I counted 11, but I might have skipped the first one. But my watch beeped in the middle of the chimes, in the middle of the bells pealing. So I am pretty close to celestial time. I will pause it until I get to the stations of the cross. Actually, no, I looked at my watch and it was 11 o'clock, so I did count 11 chimes. That's right. Jose Maria was supposed to be finishing his job by noon o'clock. We probably won't hear the 11:15 bells. I'll be well on the promenade by then. In 15 minutes I will be through the old part of Cullera and heading towards El Edificio Orion. There you go, another version of 11 o'clock. There are two churches in this area. The latter one was actually from the Sanctuario. The first set of chimes was from the old town of Valencia. That one of Corriera, that one was more in tune with political time. And the second set of chimes was the one answering to a greater call than political accuracy. Alright, I'm on pavement for the first time since I left Norma behind in the first kilometer. Let me just check my app, see if it's still functioning. My pace will increase from here on in. It'll be downhill followed by flat. Yeah, I'm up to 5.73 kilometers. That's about right. You don't cover very much distance on that treacherous terrain. I will be covering distance more than twice as fast from here on. It's going to be a lot easier. Another day I will try this run from the other direction, coming up the steep paved section and then going across the ridge on the treacherous stuff and then down the ridge. Past the gift shop, you will notice a bit more echo now because of the walls and floors around me. Alright, as I descend, I'll catch up with you again at the bottom of the cliff. Okay, I took a quick look at how far I had recorded today, and I realized that my time is up. I have managed to yak away. I'm now at the third station of the cross, and I have 38 minutes done. So for my midweek show, this is the Running Jackal saying goodbye for now. Bye-bye.